Assalamu alaikum students and welcome back to Professor Decode. So in today's video lecture, I will be covering following topics. Blood transfusion, ABO blood group system. In part 1, I had explained some basic concepts. Those will help you to understand today's lecture. So if you haven't watched part 1 yet, then you are requested to first go and watch part 1. So blood transfusion is the process of transferring blood from one person into the circulatory system of another, where the person who is giving or transferring blood is called donor and the one who is receiving blood is called recipient. But before blood transfusion, blood type of donor and recipient should be considered and matched first. For example, donor of blood group A can give blood to recipient of blood group A, but donor of blood group A cannot give blood to recipient of blood group B. So in today's lecture, we will understand all this concept of blood transfusion, that why person with blood group A cannot give blood to person with blood group B. So we have to match blood types of donor and recipient before blood transfusion. And for that, we use ABO blood group system. That is the system used to match blood type of donor and the person receiving the transfusion, means recipient. Till here I had already explained you in part 1. Now let's add 2 questions more for each blood type in this table. Can receive from whom and can donate to whom? यानी किसको blood दे सकते हैं और किससे blood ले सकते हैं. Before discussing each with an example, you should know people of blood group O are universal donor. Universal donors can donate blood to all other blood types, or in other words, all other blood types can receive blood from O. Similarly, AB is universal recipient and can receive blood from all other blood types, or in other words, all other blood types can donate blood to AB. So basic rule to understand blood transfusion is that if after transfusion antigen on RBCs of donor are compatible to antibodies in plasma of recipient, then clumping will occur, and this clumping can lead to death of recipient. Here, compatibility of antigen and antibody means that they are able to bind with each other. We have already discussed in part 1 that anti-A antibody is compatible to antigen A, means it can only bind to or attack antigen A. Similarly, anti-B antibody is compatible to antigen B, means it can only bind to or can attack antigen B. So we have to make sure that such transfusion should not take place that will bring anti-A antibody and antigen A together in single recipient. Similarly, one recipient should not contain anti-B antibody and antigen B at a time in his blood. Such blood transfusions will cause clumping or agglutination in recipients and ultimately will cause death of recipients. One more thing you have to remember, definitely both your donor and recipient are having antigens and antibodies in their bloods. But when you are solving such questions of blood transfusions, then you will only consider donor's antigens on his RBCs and recipient's antibodies in his plasma. And I am sure that this trick will help you to give correct answer to your question. Okay, so now let's try to solve one question with me while keeping all these 3 points in your mind. So question is, which of the following blood transfusions are safe and unsafe? So these are 4 different blood transfusions given and we have to tell which is safe and which is not. So let's start with the first one, where blood group A is donating blood to person with blood group A. So A on the right is recipient as he is receiving blood, and A on the left is donor as he is donating blood. So as I had told earlier, of donor we will consider antigens that are present on red blood cells. And in case of blood group A, antigen A are present on the surface of RBCs. And of recipient, we will consider plasma that contains antibodies. And in case of blood group A, anti-B antibodies are present in plasma. So if blood transfusion occurs and RBCs of donor enter bloodstream of recipient, then due to incompatibility of antigen A from donor and anti-B antibody of recipient, antigen antibody binding, that is called agglutination or clumping, will not occur. So recipient of blood group A after receiving blood from donor of blood group A will remain safe. So this transfusion is safe. Now let's see part 2 of this question. where person with blood group AB is donating blood to person with blood group O. Of donor, I will consider antigens that are present on his RBCs, means red blood cells, and in case of blood group AB, both antigen A and antigen B are present on the surface of RBCs. And of recipient, I will consider plasma that contains antibodies. And in case of blood group O, both anti-A antibody and anti-B antibodies are present in plasma. So if this transfusion occurs and red blood cells of donor enter bloodstream of recipient, then due to compatibility of antigen A and antigen B from donor and anti-A antibody and anti-B antibodies of recipient respectively, antigen-antibody binding, that is called agglutination or clumping, will occur. So the recipient of blood group O after receiving blood from donor of blood group AB will not remain safe. So this transfusion is not safe. Or you can say AB cannot donate blood to O. Now let's check third part of this question, where person with blood group B is donating blood to person with blood group O. Of donor, I will consider antigens that are present on his RBCs, and in case of blood group B, antigen B are present on the surface of RBCs. Of recipient, I will consider plasma that contains antibodies, and in case of blood group O, both anti-B antibodies and anti-A antibodies are present in plasma. So if this transfusion occurs and RBCs of donor enter bloodstream of recipient, then due to compatibility of antigen B from donor and anti-B antibody of recipient, antigen-antibody binding, that is called agglutination or clumping, will occur. So recipient of blood group O after receiving blood from donor of blood group B will not remain safe. So this transfusion is not safe, or in other words you can say B cannot donate blood to O. Now I want you people to solve the last part of this question, that is blood transfusion from O to AB is safe or not, or in other words, can O donate blood to AB? So instead of discussing each and increasing the length of this video, I have just explained you with the help of some examples, and also I have completed this table for you. Now I hope you understand that if I have written that A can donate blood to A, it means due to incompatibility of antigen of donor and antibody of recipient, no clumping occurs. That's why A can donate blood to A, and this blood transfusion is safe. But still, if you have any question related to this topic, so you can contact me, you can ask your question, I will answer you out. In next video, I will explain you what is RH blood group system and blood transfusion accordingly. So see you in next video. Till then, take care.